So today we are reviewing S.H. Figuarts' Harley Quinn as depicted in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. This is a 1/12 scale figure. So because Margot Robbie is 5 feet 6 inches tall in real life, and because this figure has on heels that correspond to, let's say, 3 inches in real life, that's 69 inches. 69 divided by 12, that gives us 5.75 inches, or in other words, 5 3/4 of an inch. So let's see how close this figure is to that calculated value. This figure is, I would say, 5 7/8 of an inch tall, so it's a little taller than it should be. But then again, I did estimate the heels. Maybe these are 4-inch heels, but I'd say it's pretty close. If it's not exact, it's perhaps just a little taller than it should be, but overall I'd say this is in scale. So what we're going to do is take a look at the accessories. Here is the alternate head sculpt. Let me put this in focus for you guys. Bam, there you go. So with this head sculpt, she's a bit more excited. Her mouth is open. Her eyes are much more expressive, so she just looks like she's in a heightened mood with this head sculpt. Let's take a look at the detail. We've got some nice detail in the hair, some fine lines that are actually indented into the sculpt to indicate or convey depth. So the head is pretty nicely detailed. Some nice vibrant red underneath the eyes. Overall, this is a pretty good head sculpt. So let's put this back to the side. Before I move on to the alternate hands, let's take a look at the head sculpt that's on the figure already. Since we just spoke about the alternate one, we might as well speak about the default one. Let me just get this in focus for you guys. There we go. So this head sculpt has a relaxed expression. I don't know if this really fits the character. She's pretty much always expressive, emotive. She doesn't ever, as far as I can recall, just have a flat, blank expression on her face. If so, not for long. Even when she's not super excited, she does have a look of, I don't know, puzzlement, or confusion, or contemplation, etc. So this expression doesn't really fit the character. Not that it's a big deal, it's just a head sculpt. I mean, I like it. I'm just saying it's not really what I'd expect from Harley Quinn. So, let's take a look at the alternate hands. So, this is the first alternate set of hands that I'll be showing. As you can see, these hands are just positioned in a relatively relaxed state. I mean, the thumbs aren't fully relaxed. They're somewhat positioned inward relative to the palms, but apart from that, the hands are relatively open. I don't know what these hands are for in terms of holding anything. They look as if you could fit something into them. Maybe, I don't know, mini playing cards or some miniature object with a flat, thin profile that can easily fit in there, but I'm pretty sure these aren't necessarily meant to hold anything, but that's what comes to mind. I'm pretty sure, though, these are just meant to be an additional set of hands with which you can put the character into different poses, and they are pretty nice. So let me put these back. These are the second set of hands that I'm showing. Now, these ones are kind of strange. They look as if they're meant to hold a weapon because the index fingers are, pointed somewhat outward, but in a curved position, as if they're meant to go into the trigger slot of a gun, whereas the 3 fingers apart from the thumb are positioned inward, and the middle finger is making contact with the thumb, as if it's meant to enclose the grip of a gun. But this figure does not come with a gun. It doesn't come with any weapon, so this is kind of strange. Very strange indeed. I don't know why S.H. Figuarts would include hands like this, but not include a gun. Very strange. These are the third set of hands that I'm showing. These are somewhat, well, one of them is completely enclosed. That is the index finger relative to the, thumb is completely enclosed. As you can see with the hand on the left, looks like something is meant to go through the hole formed by those two fingers, the index and the thumb, and it's meant to be held. But once again, this figure doesn't come with any accessories, so that's kind of strange. This one, the index finger and the thumb don't completely close and form a hole, but it does look like you can still fit something in there. But what exactly the designers of this figure had in mind, I don't know, because once again, no accessories, no weapon accessory, that is. And this is the last additional hand, similar to the right hand of the last pair that I just showed. The thumb and the index finger don't completely enclose, but they come pretty close to doing so, and it looks as if this hand is meant to hold something, but once again, no accessories. So now we're going to be checking out the articulation of this figure. So obviously we're going to start off with the head. Let's take a look. Let me bring her a bit closer. Increase the focus. There we go. So tilting the head to the side, you get a decent amount of movement there, a decent amount of articulation, especially going to her left, but not so much going to her right. I don't know why. It's kind of strange. But let's see. Downward we get quite a bit of articulation. Upwards, not so much, unfortunately. And obviously you can turn the head 360 degrees. Now, like most figures nowadays, this figure does have butterfly joints at the shoulders, so you get quite a bit of extra movement there if you really want to extend the arms forward or backwards or upwards or downwards. However, in whichever direction. We don't get any bicep swivel, but obviously we get 360 degrees of rotation where the arm meets the butterfly joints. We have double joints at the elbows, as you can see. Now we don't get much flex at the wrists because of the way the cuffs of the sleeves are structured. They extend over the hand to a degree, and obviously it's hard plastic, so that hinders the movement of the hands at the wrists, unfortunately. Obviously on both sides that's the case. And obviously on this side we also have a double joint at the elbow. So standard fare, we're getting standard fare. And at the middle of the torso we have a pivot point, so we can move her back that much, move her forward that much, back that much, forward that much. What about to the sides? Not that much, but a good amount. And at the waist, we get that much. Pretty good. That's really good. Not 90 degrees, but pretty good. That much backwards, and that's pretty much it. You can turn. Now I'm pretty sure if I wanted to force it, I could force it a full 360 degrees, but I'm not going to do that. There is resistance. It's obviously not meant to be turned at 360 degrees, so I'm not going to do that. Don't want to damage anything. Now let's take a look at the legs. Because of the way that the buttocks is sculpted, we can't really bend the leg backwards where the leg meets the hip, but we can bend it forward quite a bit. It's pretty nice. And obviously that's the case with both sides. That's pretty good. At least going forward, not so much backwards. Let's take a look at the knees. We have double joints at the knees, and we have more than 90 degrees of backward bend, which is really nice, obviously on both legs. So that's pretty good. And at the ankles, we have 360 degrees of rotation, though obviously you won't need that. That's unrealistic. Oops, I accidentally took off her foot. There we go. We get quite a bit of pivot forward. Not so much backward. A decent amount, I guess, but... Oh, wait a minute. There we go, yeah. Wow, we get quite a bit there. You just got to put a bit more force. It's pretty good. Very good, actually. Very impressed. We have some toe pivot as well, as you can see. So the articulation, I would say... It's my bad. The articulation on this figure is pretty good overall. It's fantastic. I'm more than content with it. I mean, the lack of backward articulation where the leg meets the hips is pretty disappointing, but you can't have it all. Overall, though, I will say it's pretty good. Not perfect because of that issue, as well as the fact that the cuffs of the sleeves hinder the wrists, but still pretty good, you know. You can get quite a bit of articulation out of this figure, which is very nice. So now we're going to compare this figure to a large assortment of other figures of DC characters that I own, starting off with this one here. This is another figure of Margot Robbie's, or Margot Robbie's, however you'd like to pronounce her name, iteration of Harley Quinn. However, this one is by Mafex, and it's based on the character's appearance in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. As you can see, it is noticeably taller. In fact, if we were to place these figures back to back, the difference in height is even more apparent. Significant difference in height. Let me just get her to stand. Holy moly. There we go. Yep, that's a pretty large difference in height. Admittedly, the heels on this figure are taller, so you can say that accounts for the difference, but I don't think it would account for this much of a difference if we were to scale them back up. In fact, let's scale the Mafex up. Now, earlier in the video, we determined that this figure would correspond to 5 feet and 9 inches. 5 feet 6 inches is the natural height of the actress, Margot Robbie, and the other 3 inches are for the heels of the boots. Now this figure here comes out to, let's see, comes out to 6 inches and about 3/16 of an inch. Now I did the math. That comes up to 74 inches and 1/4 of an inch if we scale it back up. And that is 6 feet, 2 inches and 1/4 of an inch. And that's obviously way too tall. That would mean that the heels would be 6 inches or 6 inches and 1/4 of an inch. I've never heard of heels that high. I mean, her feet would be, well, if you look at them, her feet do look like they're pretty much on a vertical incline, but that's just insane. So I'm just going to conclude that this figure is out of scale. It's just way too tall. So let's put it back over there. And now let's check out this figure by Mafex of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn as depicted in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. This is the character's appearance for the majority of the movie. And as you can see, it's also too tall. It's as tall as the other figure that we just compared. If we go back to back, we see that same difference in height. In fact, let me just bring this one back in so you can see. Yeah, you know, these Mafex figures, they're a bit too tall. Well, at least these two, I mean. I don't mean these Mafex figures in general, but these specific two, they're too tall for 1/12 scale. But they are 1/12 scale. Now let's take a look at this figure here of Jared Leto's iteration of the Joker as he appears in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Now, Jared Leto is, I believe, 5 feet 11 inches. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, he's 5 feet 11 inches. And when you scale that down in 1/12 scale, that comes down to 5 inches and 15/16 of an inch. Let's take a look at this here. Now, obviously, that's more than that's more than 5 inches and 15/16 of an inch. So this is a bit too tall. And you have to consider that he's barefoot, so you can't say that it's too tall because of the heels or soles of footwear. It's just it's scaled up quite a bit. So let's put that back. As a matter of fact, let me give you guys the back-to-back just to be consistent. There you go, as you can see. Let me just bring one of these ones in so you can see how this one lines up. So this one is still shorter than the Joker as it should be, but it's definitely out of scale. I mean, I shouldn't say it's necessarily out of scale. It's just that these two figures are advertised as 1/12 scale, but they're not really 1/12 scale. They're a little larger than that. Maybe, I don't know, 1/11 scale? Something like that. I wouldn't say they're quite 1/10, but they're a little larger than 1/12 scale, so just keep that in mind. So let's put them back. Let's bring this guy in. Another figure of Jared Leto's Joker as he appears in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Same size as the last one. So there you go. Quite nice. So let's put him back. Now we're going to bring in Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne. Ben Affleck in real life is 6 feet 4 inches tall. That translates to 76 inches. Now when we divide that by 12, we get 6 inches and 5/16 of an inch. So let's see how close this comes to that measurement. 6 inches and 5/16, so that would be up here. It's a little shorter than that, so it's shorter than it should be. Definitely shorter than it should be. It should be taller than this. So it's kind of strange. You've got these guys over here who are too tall, and now you've got this Bruce Wayne that's too short, even though they're both by Mafex, and they're both from the same continuity, the same DC cinematic universe. So just to bring him in so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at the Jared Leto is, he's about the same height. It's actually taller. He's taller. And that's not supposed to be the case. I mean, Ben Affleck is 6 feet 4 inches tall, and Jared Leto is only 5 feet 11. So something strange there with the scaling. Let's put him back. Let's bring in Justice League Batman. Also based on the likeness of Ben Affleck. As you can see, he's also, is he too short? He's supposed to be 6 and 5/16 of an inch. He comes up to about that tall, but that's with the bat ears. With the bat ears, he should be even taller. See, look at that. So still, we have the same problem. He's too short. I mean, he's noticeably taller, but he's not as tall as he should be with the suit on. So here is the back-to-back. As you can see, Batman is taller, but once again, he's not as tall as he should be. He should be taller. This figure is it's not scaled properly. So let's bring in Mafex Superman, based on the likeness of Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is 6 feet 1 inch tall in real life. That translates to 73 inches. And when we scale that down, we get 6 inches and 1/16 of an inch. Let's measure this. 6 and 1/16 is right there. So he's a bit taller, actually. So this is slightly too tall. Should be a little shorter. If we bring in Bruce Wayne, look at that. He's taller than Bruce Wayne. That's not supposed to be the case. Not in the movie continuity, that is. In the comics, yes, but not with the movies. See, look at that. This Batman should be taller. So, Mafex, what's that about? You advertise these figures as 1/12 scale, but the ones here on the left are too tall, and these ones on the right, at least the Batman / Bruce Wayne figures, they're too short. And this Superman is a bit too tall. I mean, whatever happened to being consistent? So let's put this back. Now, let's bring in the S.H. Figuarts version of Ben Affleck's Batman. Now, as you can see right off the bat, this is just really short. Way too short. Let's see how tall it comes out to be. 6 feet, 1, 2, 3, about 6 3/16 of an inch, or 6 2/16, I should say. So he's supposed to be 6 5/16. That's without the bat ears. So yeah, this is definitely too short. Now, I learned a few years ago that the issue is that the peg in the torso is too short. You can buy a larger, or should I say a longer peg, and that will fix the issue, but I never got around to doing that. So yeah, so let me just put him back. But actually, first let me give you guys the back-to-back. Keep forgetting to do that. Bad habit. Look at that. He should definitely be taller. Definitely. So let's put him back. Now we're going to bring in S.H. Figuarts Superman in the likeness of Henry Cavill. So as you can see, that's, let's see, 6 1/4 of an inch. Now it's actually a little taller than that. 6 what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say 1, 2, 3, 6 3/16. Sorry, 3/8 of an inch in height, approximately, somewhere around there. So he's taller than he should be. Definitely should be shorter. Let me see how he compares to this Superman by Mafex. Shorter, but still too tall. He should be 6 1/16 of an inch, but once again, he is he's too tall there. As you can see, he's more than 6 1/16 of an inch. So let's put him back. Now we're going to bring in S.H. Figuarts Wonder Woman as she appears in Wonder Woman 1984 in the likeness of Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is 5 feet 10 inches tall in real life. When you scale that down, that comes down to 5 inches and 13/16 of an inch. So let's get the ruler. Wow. Let's see. That's 4, 8, 12, 13. A little taller than it should be. It essentially comes up to 6 feet, but that's not too bad. That's pretty close. And when you consider these thick soles, I would say this is very well scaled. It's pretty much perfect. Very nice. So let's put that back. So now we have Wonder Woman in her golden armor as she appears in Wonder Woman 1984 in the likeness of Gal Gadot. Let's see how tall this one is. So once again, it should be 5 13/16 of an inch, but it's about 6 inches. But once again, you know, considering the soles, that's acceptable. I would say well scaled with this figure. Very, very well done. Now let's bring in SHF of the Flash and the likeness of Ezra Miller. Now Ezra Miller in real life is 5 feet 11 inches tall. When you scale that down, it comes down to 5 inches and 15/16 of an inch. So if we bring in the ruler, he's actually taller than that. He comes in over 6 inches. He's about 6 and what? 1, 2, 3 quarters of an inch. Sorry, 3/16 of an inch. Yeah, he's a bit too tall. Now, if you look at the soles, they're not that thick, so he shouldn't be that much taller. So I'm gonna have to say this is poorly scaled. Yes, poorly scaled. So let's put him back. Now let's take a look at Mafex's figure of Ezra Miller's Flash. Now he should also be 5 15/16 of an inch in height, but he's also over 6 inches in height. He's about 6 3/16 of an inch, about the same height as the last one. In fact, we bring him in, bring him back in. Yeah, they're about the same height. So they're both a little too tall. But not a big deal. Now we're going to provide Mera in the likeness of Amber Heard for a comparison. We'll just get this in her hand. There we go. All right. Now, Amber Heard in real life is 5 feet 7 inches tall. That scales down to 5 inches and 9/16 of an inch. Now, this is obviously too tall because that would be right here, 5 and 9/16 of an inch. But she's up here. Comes up to about 5 3/4 of an inch. So a little too tall. But then again, you have to consider that she has these thick soles on her boots. So I guess you can say that that could be the explanation for the slightly taller height. So this is acceptable. This is in scale. I say they scale well together. These two scale pretty well together, which is pretty good. So let's put her back. Now we have Jason Momoa's Aquaman, as he appears in his eponymous movie, Aquaman. Now, Jason Momoa is 6 feet 4 inches tall like Ben Affleck, so that scales down to 6 inches and 5/16 of an inch. Let's see what that comes out to. That's 6, and he's about 6.5 inches. It's actually a little more than that. So he's actually too tall. That would scale up to over 6.5 feet. So that would be over 6 feet 6 inches. So it's a couple of inches too tall if you're to scale him back up. But that's in the ballpark. So it's not too bad. I will say that this one here is way out of scale. A lot of people notice that the figure on the right is shorter than the figure on the left, even though they're the same character. And I guess that's because Mafex realized that their earlier DCEU figures were just too tall, which includes these ones back here. So for the later ones, they scaled them down a bit, but not consistently, you know. These figures of Bruce Wayne / Batman in the back, as already demonstrated or shown, are too short. The Superman figure over here is too tall. This one is a little too tall. So it's still not consistent. But this one is way too tall. I mean, just look at this. This is crazy. This guy is 6 3/4 of an inch. That's insane. 6 3/4 of an inch. I mean, what in the world? It's just way too tall. So let's put him back. I know I didn't do the back-to-back, but let me just do that for you guys. Keep forgetting to do that. completely dwarfs Harley Quinn. Dwarfs her. So, let's put him back. Let's put him back. Cyborg. Ray Fisher Cyborg. Ray Fisher is 6 feet 3 inches tall, and that scales down to 6 inches and 1/4 of an inch. So let's see what we've got. 6 and 1/4 of an inch. He's a little taller. He's about 6.5 inches. So that scales up to 6 feet 6 inches. So about 2 inches taller than he would be in real life. However, he is a cyborg, so you could say that after his cybernetic augmentation, he was made a bit taller. So this is fine. I would say this is well scaled. Let's put him... Did I do the back-to-back view? Put him here. Damn, he's tall as hell. Look at that. Looks beautiful. It does. Looks amazing. All right. So now we're going to provide Will Smith's Deadshot for comparison. This is Deadshot as he appears in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, portrayed by Will Smith. Now this figure is notoriously too tall. Will Smith is 6 feet 2 inches tall in real life, which scales down to 6 inches and 3/16 of an inch. However, this figure is... Take a look at this. Bam. Way too damn tall. That's 6 and 7/8. What am I saying? 5, 6 and 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this figure is 6 and I would say 5/8 of an inch or 5.5/8 of an inch. I mean, that's insane. It's just way too tall. I don't know why they scale this figure like this, but this is once again one of Mafex's earlier DCEU figures, which were all, as I already explained, all too tall. But this one is ridiculous. I mean, he's like a giant. Let's look at him back to back. Look at that. Look at that. That's insane. This guy belongs in the NBA. Look at his height. It's ridiculous. Beautiful figure, though. A very beautiful figure. Nicely detailed. Has a buttload of accessories that I don't have to display, to exhibit at the moment, but comes with a lot of stuff. Let's put... that back. So that about wraps things up for this review of S.H. Figuarts' Harley Quinn as depicted in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I hope you guys really enjoyed this review. Be sure to leave some comments below and thumb this video up and to hit the subscribe button. Peace out.